I'm Robin Kramer of Flourish and Thrive Academy, and I'm so excited to be here today to talk with Susie Hickson about the big reveal about copyrights and trademarks for jewelry designers. Welcome, Susie.
Hey, Robin.
So excited to have you here. I'm going to dive in a little bit and tell everybody a little bit about you. So Susie is a trademark, copyright, and advertising attorney. And she has over 10 years of experience practicing intellectual property law, combined with over 4 years of running her own businesses. Susie combines her experience with her superpower of simplifying complex legal matters and putting them into easily digestible forms to help her clients build a strong intellectual property foundation for their businesses. We all need that. When Susie isn't practicing law, you can find her working on Lila's Guide, which focuses on teaching young girls entrepreneurial and leadership skills, which is amazing. And Susie is a vinyasa yoga teacher. She has a serious chocolate addiction. She's a dog whisperer and a major bookworm. All really fun things. Susie, welcome. We're so excited to have you here.
Thanks, Robin. I'm happy to be here.
It's such a hot topic. Tracy and I were just talking about trademarks and copyrights and all that kind of stuff. So super excited to dive in and share some of your amazing knowledge with us. Our first question is, what is the difference between copyright and a trademark?
Robin, that's a great question, and one that I get asked all the time, probably on a daily basis. And it is complex subject matter. So one way I like to tell people about it is by giving examples, which I'll get into in a little bit. But first of all, a trademark itself, what is that? It's whatever acts as a source indicator for a company's product or service. It can be a name, it can be a logo, it can be an image or a tagline. And really the purpose of trademark law is to help the consuming public distinguish companies' different products and services. So there is some public policy that goes along with trademarks. As an example, you think about Boeing Airlines, they typically use Rolls-Royce engines. So Rolls-Royce is a brand name for engines, and obviously Boeing better get the right engines in their planes. So that's one example of a trademark. And kind of an ancillary thing to the consuming public, helping the consuming public, is that companies build brand value by marketing their goods and services under trademarks. So that's probably what's really important to you all as jewelry designers. Another thing I get asked about a lot is, what are copyrights? And really what a copyright is that it's an artistic expression of something. And it can really be anything. It can be a sculpture, it can be a painting, it can be a poem, or an entire book. Those things are subject to copyright protection.
So interesting. We definitely came across that when with so many different aspects of jewelry designing. So you gave us some great examples of each and when they would be used. Now, for jewelry designers, is it possible to copyright designs? And if so, how does that really all work?
Sure, that's a good question. Yeah, it's absolutely possible to copyright jewelry designs. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples, if I can show them if I can use the camera here. I don't know if this is going to be familiar to anyone, if anyone has seen this. Have you ever seen this? It's by a jewelry designer called Lori Rodkin. I think I'm pronouncing her name right. And it is something that she has sought copyright protection for. It's her medium spider web bondage ring. So you can look her up online. Her name is Lori Rodkin, Loreerodkin. And she has a very distinctive and artistic design with her jewelry. Another example, and I think we're all going to know this one, is David Yurman.
Yes.
He, probably a little more popular. I think Lori Rodkin might be a newer designer. David Yurman, have we all seen these lovely bracelets? I think we all have. Some of us probably own one or two of these. But this is part of his Renaissance collection of bracelets, and he has filed for copyright protection of those designs. So you can file for copyright protection for an entire collection in one copyright application. And it's actually pretty cheap to do so. You can do it online through the Library of Congress, and that's copyright.gov, and it can give you a ton of information on copyright filing and protection and what it all means. You can search to see what other people own, which is important, I think, in the jewelry industry to kind of see what other people are out there doing.
Yes.
So that's one way to protect your jewelry designs. But you can also protect your jewelry designs via trademark protection. And this is a little bit newer thing that some people are trying. And I've got some really fun examples of that, which I'll go into in our seminar in a few weeks. So
can't wait.
Yeah. So there's several different ways to go about protecting your designs in addition to just copyright protection. And one thing, it might be going a little bit beyond what you're asking me, but there are certain pros and cons of both trademark and copyright. One great thing about a trademark is that it can last forever. It can last as long as the trademark is being used. A copyright, however, is going to only last as long as the life of the designer plus 70 years. So there is some limitation on copyright protection before it goes into what's called the public domain.
Interesting. So the life of the designer plus 70 years?
70 years, yeah. So what it is there is some, there are reasons to try to protect the family and the heirs of the designer to be able to profit a little bit. Now, what has gone along with that is there's a lot of Walt Disney lobbying going on, and every time his heirs get close to that 70 years coming up, it seems like the Copyright Office or the laws kind of gets extended a little bit further. So, but currently that's what the law is right now. The life of the author plus 70 years.
So interesting. Oh my gosh, I'm learning so much. I love this. All right. So another thing is a lot of designers are really concerned about their work being knocked off.
Sure.
And it's really hard. I just know, being in the jewelry industry and being in sales with it, that's a hard thing. So is there any truly safety guard for your designs that a designer could do so they can feel like their work's not being copied?
It is a little bit of the wild, wild west, yes. I think, when it comes to, protecting the designs. In your jewelry, there are things you can do. One of them is being proactive in protecting protecting the copyright in that design. But another thing is you're going to have to monitor what's out there. And either you're going to have to do it yourself, or you're going to have to hire a third party to do it. And there are companies that you can hire that will do that for you. It's not cheap, but if you're expending money on the front side and being proactive and protecting your your copyrights and your trademarks, that's only half the battle. You have to be ready, willing, and able to enforce it if you do happen to come across an infringer. Sometimes, if you come across an infringer, first of all, you better make sure that, especially in terms of trademark, that you're the first user of it, because, it's the first user of the trademark. With respect to copyright, it's a little bit different because you could have two separate use or, creative works that pop up that are the same, and they could coexist. So it's difficult. But once you find that infringer and you've made sure that you have rights, you need to be ready to send them a cease and desist letter. And sometimes sending a cease and desist letter from a law firm is really enough to scare people. Sometimes it doesn't. I deal with people that are, I'll get an email back from a cease and desist letter, and they're basically like, go take a hike. Where, you know what I mean? And sometimes people roll over and I'm so sorry, didn't mean to intentionally infringe. We'll take everything off the market. We'll get rid of it, whatever. So there is that kind of threat factor that goes along, with enforcement of your intellectual property. So, and it's important to put people on notice of what you own. And one way that you can do that is using the copyright symbol, which is the C in the circle. I know y'all probably seen that.
Yes.
You can use it on your website. You can also use it, you might want to have a little section on your website, like a little link at the bottom that says legal. And, maybe people link there or not, or click there or not. But in there you could list out what your intellectual property is, what copyrights you own, what trademarks you own, and specifically say, I work hard to respect other people's intellectual property, and I expect you to do the same, and specifically lay out what your intellectual property is. And that way, you're working hard to put people on notice that what you're creating is valuable to you. That's your sweat equity. That is value for your business. One thing that I've noticed David Yurman has been doing, and David Yurman is a really good, this is good for any of us as joy designers to follow him and what he's doing in terms of intellectual property. They're really on it. But one thing I've noticed that he has done on his website is he specifically says, look for the cable. The cable is a very distinctive part of his design, is that cable. There are knockoffs out there, but
yeah,
that's a very important part. And, I'll go ahead and just kind of give you the hint here, but David Yurman he has a lot of trademarks, and he is seeking lots of different ways to protect his designs beyond copyright protection. So I'll go more into that in a few weeks.
Okay. Yeah, super interesting. And I think he's a great example for sure. All right. So is it, as far as pursuing, if you do find somebody there's trademark infringement or copyright, is it worth it to pursue litigation?
Litigation is very expensive. And it's never a slam dunk. Like, no one can ever say, this is slam dunk. And whenever someone says it's a slam dunk, like, that's a really big red flag. Because it's never a slam dunk. So you really have to think, like, what is really going to be my return on pursuing litigation? I'm going to spend a lot of money pursuing this third party. Why am I doing it? Really, really think about why you're doing it. Are you doing it because you're mad? Are you wanting to get back at them? Or is it really you feel like you've had damages that you need to recoup? If that's the case, then litigation is worth pursuing. But at the end of the day, I think it's really important to be proactive in the protection of your intellectual property on the front end. And when I say, like, on the front end, I mean, taking a look at your designs and seeing what is, inherently distinctive about them. If there is anything, seeing if you can't file a trademark for something that's inherently distinctive with your designs. As another example, the Gucci stirrup that we see a lot of times on sunglasses and bags, that's a registered trademark. Just little things like that. They're source identifiers. Really think about what you have, in those terms that you need to go out and protect. Like I said, the front end. Same thing with your copyright. What do you have that's inherently distinctive? Think about what do you have that maybe kind of goes outside the bounds of just words or names or logos. What colors are you using? What kind of packaging are you using? As an example of that, I love giving examples because I think that's really one way to kind of drive it home. We know Tiffany & Company, like, it's super famous. Obviously a registered trademark, just the name Tiffany & Company. But did you know that the color, the robin's egg blue, that's a registered trademark for Tiffany.
Wow.
So, really think outside the Tiffany box when it comes to what aspects of your business are source indicators. Like, what are people looking at that make them think about you?
I like that. Source indicators. I think that's a really good way to think of it, for sure.
And another example that is I'm from Kentucky, so I always have to give this example as a kind of a bizarre source indicator. But if you think about red wax poured over a bottle of bourbon, hopefully some of us will think of Maker's Mark.
Yes.
So that's one of their registered trademarks. No one else can use red wax poured over like probably any kind of liqueur or alcoholic beverage. So, because of what that is a source indicator. When you go to a bar and you look up, you don't even have to look really at the bottle, or the actual labeling on the bottle. You see that red wax, and you're like, oh, I'll take a Maker's.
Yeah, you immediately know. So interesting. Oh my gosh, I have so many more questions, but this has been amazing. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our community?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll just kind of drive home the importance of being proactive when it comes to protecting your IP, and filing for those trademarks if you have it for that protection. Filing those copyrights. Copyrights are especially inexpensive to obtain. Trademarks are a little more expensive, but comparatively, you get a lot of bang for your buck with trademark filing. And there's that saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and it really will save you a lot of headache in the long run if you go ahead and recognize and protect your intellectual property.
Love it, love it. Well, as you mentioned earlier, we're so excited to have you as a contributor to our Multiply Your Profits course that's happening. And going to start happening in a few weeks. So we're super excited. I have a lot more questions for you.
Good.
And I know we're going to be diving in a lot deeper. But if you haven't signed up for our free training yet, we have a free training series. Make sure you do so. So pop on over to Flourish and Thrive Academy, where all the fun happens after this interview. And Susie, where can people find you?
Probably the best place to find me would be on my the program that I'm developing for entrepreneurial teen girls, and it's lilasguide.com, and that's LYLAS guide.com. So
wonderful. Thank you so much. This is it's great to dive into this part of the business, which is really interesting. And I love what you said. What did you say? An ounce of prevention
is worth a pound of cure. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
and
it.
It's one of those areas, it's like, it kind of seems, gross because it's a legal thing, but it really can be a lot of fun. So,
well, I'm all about the fun. So thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day. And thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.